Hi, this is Jundo. Welcome to Tree Leaf. Without priests to continue these traditions, generation after generation, the Buddhist teachings would have died out long ago. So it's important for any Sangha to consider to train the next generation of priests, of teachers, so that our ways can continue. And thus I'm very content to say that our Sangha will later this summer conduct a ceremony known as Shuke Tokudo, home leaving and taking the way. It's an ordination for 3 individuals who will begin the long road of training to perhaps, and I emphasize perhaps, eventually be ready to be priests, to be teachers themselves for the future, for the next generation. But any Sangha must do this so carefully. If it's done wrong, if it's done carelessly, if it's done without attention to detail, we will be doing a disservice to them. We will be doing a disservice to anyone who may come in contact with them in the future, for they will be ill-informed, ill-equipped, unprepared, misguiding people in these traditions. And so there can be no negligence. We must pay attention to detail, take our time, not rush it. And this is especially true in our Sangha for a couple of reasons. First off, this is the first time we've undertaken this. And in our Sangha, it's new to me. We're going to figure out how to do this slowly and carefully. Probably make some mistakes on the way, learn a lot. Taigu and I are trying really hard here. And so are the 3 individuals who are going to be ordained. There's another reason. Our Sangha is unusual as far as Sanghas go, transcending distance, transcending national borders. And thus, this practice of training too will be transcending borders and distance. These individuals are in Germany, Canada, Sweden. I'm in Japan. Taigu's in Japan. We're not going to let that stop us. We're going to do this in some very traditional ways, including periods of residency and training the old-fashioned way, being together and watching how things are done. But also, we're going to be using, as we always do, every available modern technology, modern way of telecommunications to be training together, even if we're thousands of miles apart. It's not going to stop us. You see, what's important is the result, that an individual is properly trained in our traditions and our ways, has penetrated the way of Zazen, so that he is prepared to deal with people who may come to him in the future seeking guidance, sometimes at very vulnerable times in their lives, at times of sickness and death of a loved one or divorce in a marriage. Ethics are so important. Being ready to counsel, so important. And we intend to make sure that our priests are ready. Now there's another thing too, I've talked about many times. These days in Japan and the West, unlike for hundreds of years and still in most Asian countries, priests are married with families, kids, husbands and wives, often outside work. And I've said many times, I think it's a good thing. It's brought these teachings out from behind the monastery walls. But for the training of our priests too, we will be respecting that fact. And training in our lineage goes hand in hand with family life, with responsibilities, work. Sometimes these folks cannot get away for the months and years traditionally required to go into a monastery. So we go into the monastery and we come out and we go back to work. We take our time. It's not a race. Yes, there are things that are important to learn in a monastic setting, but there are other things that can be learned outside, and we're going to experiment in how to do that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a beautiful thing. I've said many times, I don't think we're monks, I don't think we're priests. We're training to be ministers. And we're going to train some good ones. Take my word on that. Okay? Shall we sit with that? You might hear some thunder outside tonight. It's a big, rainy, thundery night.